Days the news was full of Egypt summit, Gaza, Israel, and leaders flying in and out. He also saw clips of Pakistan's Prime Minister praising Donald Trump. But in the middle of all that noise, another story quietly went viral. A short moment about Trump's daughter Ivanka. It looked small, just a line in a speech, but that one line opens a big door. How the US Israel bond really works, and why it is so strong even when the whole world seems to disagree. People often ask, how does Israel do this? Such a small country, yet it has a huge influence in Washington. How? The answer isn't magic, it's relationships, networks, values, and consistent effort over many years, often by people you rarely see on TV. When Donald Trump spoke in Israel's parliament, he mentioned Ivanka. He said she had embraced Judaism, and he praised his son in law, Jared Kushner. For many, that was just family talk. But if you look deeper, it tells you something. The people closest to power in Washington can also be personally invested in Israel's future. That personal link matters. It shapes meetings, priorities, and tone. During Trump's first term, Jared was a key player behind the Abraham Accords, the deals that pushed several Muslim majority countries to normalize ties with Israel. Whatever your view of Trump, those agreements were a major geopolitical shift. They didn't happen by chance, they happened because a small team worked the phones, built trust, traded incentives, and pushed hard for months. That's the first lesson. Policy follows persistence. Another part of the story is philanthropy and political giving. You may not know names like Miriam Adelson until election season, but people like her have supported campaigns, think tanks, media advocacy, and community groups for years. These are legal, public channels, donations, foundations, policy forums. Together they build influence the slow way with staying power. When a crisis comes, that network switches on. Open nets appear, briefings happen, lawmakers get calls, and the argument for Israel reaches the top fast. How lobbying actually works. Community groups keep the issue in the public eye. Think tank supply research and talking points. Donors fund campaigns and policy work. Personal ties, advisors, family, old friends open doors. Bipartisan outreach keeps support stable no matter who wins elections. This is not a conspiracy, it's organizing. And Israel supporters have organized for decades, clearly, consistently, and with one goal. But why the US listens? It's not only doors or family links. There are strategic reasons too. Shared technology and defense projects, intelligence cooperation, a strong voting bloc that cares about Israel, a story of a small democracy in a tough region that resonates with many Americans. Put all that together and you get a relationship that doesn't swing wildly with headlines. The hard question people ask, why don't other countries do the same? Some do, but many don't with the same discipline. They may have wealthy diaspora, but not a unified civic effort. They may have emotion, but not structure. No long term funding for advocacy. No regular briefings to lawmakers. No year round presence in policy circles. The India comparison. Indian origin leaders do incredibly well in business and tech in the US. But as a community, Indians abroad often avoid political organizing for India's foreign policy goals. You'll find successful CEOs and doctors, but fewer permanent advocacy platforms, making India's case in Washington week after week, year after year. That's the key difference, organized voice versus scattered success. So when Trump says Ivanka embraced Judaism or praises Jared's role, remember it's not the sentence, it's the signal. The ties are personal, cultural, and strategic all at once. That kind of link outlives single elections. It shapes what advisors push, what presidents hear, and how fast Washington moves when Israel calls. The last 2 years have been brutal. Civilians have suffered on all sides. You'll hear numbers and see painful images. But when it comes to US decisions, the same pattern repeats. The security frame, hostages, rockets, threats, dominates. Israel's case is presented clearly and early. Supporters in the US activate from Congress to cable news. By the time the rest of the world rallies, Washington's position is already set. Power is not only about tanks and GDP, it's about narrative, networks, and never going quiet. Israel's allies don't wait for crisis. They build trust in peacetime so it holds in wartime. If you're a policymaker or just curious, ask who tells your story in Washington every week, not just during a crisis. Which think tanks host your experts? Which lawmakers get your briefings? Which communities carry your message? What's your 5 year plan for influence, not 5 tweets? Why this matters beyond Israel? Today it's Gaza and Israel. Tomorrow it could be Red Sea, Taiwan, or the Indian Ocean. And country that wants US to listen needs relationship, not reactions. Because when the moment comes, phone numbers matter more than speeches. Israel keeps America on its side because it shows up every day, not only when there's a war. If you want a more simple and straight breakdown of how global power really works without shouting and without fluff, subscribe and stay with us. Next episode will map the people, money, and ideas that quietly move foreign policy so you can see the game before the headline arrives.